Hi, everybody. Welcome to our new episode. We're going to be talking about what's at stake in relationships in this episode. And just so you know, we are sponsored by the Institute of Metaphysical Science. You can go to the site at scientificmetaphysics.org and find all of the materials and different things that we have going on there and different events and things like that that might interest you. So welcome, Betty. How are you today?
I'm fine.
All right. So let's talk about relationships and what's at stake in relationships. So set us up. What are we going to be exploring tonight?
Yeah, you need to really take a look at what metaphysics is all about here. Relationships is all about you being whole, you being fully self-expressed, free, joyous. We think it has to do with connecting with somebody else. That's the language look. But if you aren't being free and whole and joyous and free and all that stuff, you're not relating. You're living in the realm of two things going on instead of all as infinite mind.
Right. So if you think you're in lack of relationship or whatever, and you try and figure out, what do I have to do? How do I have to dress? What do I have to? That's all fixing it from rearranging the furniture of your life.
Yep. And it's also called having expectation of the past.
Yeah.
Because whether you know it or not, the language world you look at is the past. It's a record of where you are standing a minute ago or a second ago.
Right.
It's always, if you can see it, it's happened.
Right.
If you're looking at a relationship developing, you've got to get out of that picture and leave it alone and see what makes you fully and wholly yourself.
Yeah.
What is it to be just comfortable and curious and into, up to your ears, what you're doing and loving every moment of it. That's when you can relate, because the world is being you, being the world.
Yeah, very good. Very, very good. All right, well, let's get at our quotes. So in Mind is the Athlete, in your book, you wrote, "Nothing exists for us unless we are aware of it."
Yeah, and that's just a little snippet. It really isn't something that I wrote. It's really part of a quote that Margaret Laird wrote.
Okay.
But it is true nevertheless. Nothing exists for us unless we are aware of it.
Okay,
so it's our conscious awareness that dictates what we've got going on.
Okay, say more about that. It's our awareness that dictates what we've got going on?
It's our conscious awareness, yes.
Okay.
We're aware of a lot of stuff, but we're not consciously present to it a lot of the time.
Right.
You know, there's just, I could think I'm aware of the house I'm in, but I'm not really conscious of it all the time, because I get present to what I'm doing at the moment. And at that moment, the house doesn't exist.
Right.
For me, do you know? So it's your conscious awareness that makes a difference.
Right. And when you're consciously aware, you're not necessarily have your mind on all the things and stuff and all that around your life. What you are is you're aware of the facts of being, aren't you?
Yeah, you're aware that you exist.
Yeah.
But I want to point out that there's a huge difference in recognizing the thinking that's going on, which is what occurs when you're full of ideas, really looking to see what they're all about, what's going on here, what's that saying, what is that? You know, that kind of thinking, that's a generative presence that has stuff occur. Big gulf between that and figuring out something that you focus your attention on, and then you think about that. Thinking about is into the language world totally. It has no generative capacity for freedom.
Right. Like driving from the rearview mirror.
Very much so. And if you fall in the ditch, don't be surprised.
Okay, very good. All right. Now, in Mind as the Athlete, next page, you say what is seen as language is exactly what is being honored as the verity of being.
Yeah, it's the truth. This is what's going on. And we kid ourselves because we think the way it looks in language is what's going on, instead of recognizing that something's going on. And this is my best take at the moment. This is my best view. This is the way it looked to me 5 seconds ago or 1 second
Right.
ago.
So if I want to shift it, what do I do?
You pay attention to what is actually a fact. You know, I can't think of this situation to describe it, but you can actually get geared to a fact by saying 2 and 2 is 4. It gets you out of the wondering whether or what about. 2 and 2 is 4. You don't have to, what's that all about? You don't have any of that going on. Just right to the fact.
Right. But I could be like 2 and 2 is 4, and I wish I had a relationship.
Well, the minute you said, I wish I had a relationship, you dropped the fact.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so when you say get clear about the facts, if I want something, whether it's a relationship or a new pontoon boat or whatever, there's something principle operating here that isn't about coming from my past and trying to dictate my future from the look of my life.
Right. And you know, one of the things that Mrs. Eddy says, desire is prayer. Well, Margaret Laird elaborated on that, and she said, if you desire it, it already exists. So what you want to do is have it evident in your experience.
Yeah.
Well, if it already exists, having it evident means being yourself, consciously aware. Now, if I'm being Betty, rushing around doing things, I'm not being myself. I'm being Betty. When I want to be myself, I want to see that what's actually present is intelligence functioning. And I call it Betty. But it's intelligence functioning. And so intelligence functioning, if I stay with that and let go of the Betty fuss carrying on, if I stay with that, then what's appropriate will show up, because that's where the desire resides. It's already present. If I can think of it, it's present. What I want to do is leave it alone and be myself so that I can see that my world includes everything.
Right.
Be whole, satisfying, joyous, abundant, all of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's clear. And if anyone has any questions, just type into the comments and we'll see those. There'll be a little delay and we'd be happy to answer those. So if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to say, just feel free to do that and we'll include it. We love that interaction.
I just want to really be clear, because everybody thinks, well, I've zeroed in on this good looking person and I want them in my life. That's not what we're talking about. That's called taking thought about. And you're not free. There is nothing that allows that to be perfect for you.
Mm-hmm.
What allows it to be perfect for you is the recognition that nothing goes on in your life that isn't divine love meeting the human need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And on page 176 in Mind as the Athlete, you say, language will lead you astray if you look to it as if any generative capacity resided in that expression, which is exactly what we've just been talking about.
That's right.
So if you're guiding
again, because it's right on.
Right. If you're guiding yourself by trying to rearrange the furniture in your life, the situations in your life, the circumstances in your life, and you're taking a lot of thought about trying to do it right and all that stuff, that's the language leading you astray. And all there is to do is know who you are. Be consciously aware of the facts of your being. And be willing to have it show up exactly the way it is and exactly the way it isn't. Be free.
Yeah. And, you know, freedom does not look like concentrating. There is nothing about that that brings joy into the experience.
Right.
Freedom it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Okay.
On we go. All right. It's like that. And there is a distinction there, because if I'm going to figure out how to get that situation to be my situation, I'm wallowing in language, I'm living in the past, and I've given myself a problem.
Yeah.
I have to leave it alone. I don't know what it should look like, but if I know that I'm joyously related as a world, and this is what it looks like, on we go. Oh boy, isn't this interesting?
Yeah.
Curious, out there, smiling, free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
I remember my mother said to me one time, I came home crying because I didn't have a friend to go skating with. And she said, well, what kind of a person would you like to go skating with? And I described it, well, somebody that's fun and somebody that likes what I like to do, and somebody neat. And she says, well, are you being that way? Are you fun to be around? Are you somebody that's neat to have around? And I said, well, I don't know. She says, well, figure that out, because if you're not being that way, you're not going to attract that to yourself. So the thing that you're looking for, as if it were out there, is really right here. Being free is that thing. Being joyous, being open, being curious, being willing to participate with somebody in your language world. If there's a burden to it, just let alone.
Right.
Because if you're not free, your experience of it is going to be anything but joyous.
Right. And that doesn't mean that when you're in a relationship and you fall on hard times, you kick it to the curb either.
No, if I'm in a relationship and a problem occurs, why does it occur? Because there is a solution. There is a fact that needs to be honored. And this is the only way I can get to see it. So I look for the fact.
Okay,
And
very cool.
Is that all is infinite mind and whole and perfect right now.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. Very good. All right. In Mind is the Athlete, on page 177, you then say, everything possible is possible right now.
Yep. And, I think I don't have my book open right at the moment, but I think that whole line of thinking on that is what John Dorsey was writing about in his book, Illness or Allness.
Mm-hmm.
He always said, all the ingredients for every happening are always present.
Right.
Always present. So when I allow it to be, that presence shows up, and it's perfect and it's free and it meets the need.
Yep.
If I'm in there meddling and pushing it around, trying to get it to look a certain way to satisfy Betty, I gum up the works.
Exactly. All right. And on page 178 of your book, Mind is the Athlete, you say all belief-based action is at cross purposes with the individual's fact-based emerging self-awareness.
Yeah. Belief-based action means I've got a belief called my language world, and I'm going to have it be a certain way. And that's at cross purposes with being whole, free, standing in perfection.
Because if you're standing in perfection, then you get that what you've got is exactly perfect. And it doesn't, and what you do, the actions you take and all of that, you can do it joyfully, because you know that that's all by your being, all being is. Is that kind of get it, that idea?
Yep. And as you were saying that, I recognize that quite often we look and think, well, I don't want to be around that for 20 years, for heaven's sakes. Well, the minute I say that, where am I standing?
Yeah, in language, in belief-based action.
Not only standing in language, but I'm judging it.
Yeah.
I've got an opinion about it.
Right.
I've already passed sentence on it. It's doomed before I get to start. Do you know? So if I'm being myself, I'm free of all that. I don't know whether it's going to be perfect or not. Of course it's perfect. Whether I see it as perfect is up to me.
Yeah.
But of course it's perfect.
Right.
There isn't anything else going on. That's the ground of being.
Okay. Now we move on to Christian Science Re-Explored, first edition by Margaret Laird, on page 199. I imagine the first edition's kind of hard to get. Is that true?
We don't have any for sale, that's for sure.
Exactly. So you'll have to take our word for it that it's on
There
page
are 2,000 of them out there.
Right. It's on page 199. Anyways, mind is everything and being is spirit. These ideas are true and functioning in the unconscious before they are seen in forms called material.
Yep. Let me preface that other comment that I made. The editions currently in use of Christian Science Re-Explored are exactly like the first edition, except for the wording of a few sentences. I think she had 4 big major corrections when she reprinted it. And so there's only 4 differences, but the language she used was so much easier to work with that I used that language this time in these quotes instead of the language that's currently in the new edition. So,
okay. So when she says mind is everything and being is spirit,
yep.
These ideas are true and functioning in the unconscious before they are seen in forms called material.
That's right. If reality wasn't present, there wouldn't be any language.
Right.
You have to have something going on to have a view of it. So when I look around and see stuff, the mistake I make is thinking that way. The thing that Betty sees, her point of view, her take on it, her perception of it, we think that is reality, and that's not. That's just her point of view.
Right.
But what is present is reality. And so if I can give up on having it be like I see it and just say, hey, wait a minute, reality is present. There may be a big distinction between what's present and my point of view. So I have to take into account that Betty's got a lot of stuff going on. So only if she's really in tune with the facts of being is she free to have the joy of that perfection be what's present in her experience.
Right.
So I really want to make a point of that, because we operate as if the way we see it is the way it is. And by gum, if anybody doesn't see it that way, they don't know what's going on.
That's right. I don't know what you're talking about.
Margaret used to say, by cracky. I like that expression.
Right. All right. So again, in the first edition of CSR on page 50, she said, there is no possible way of having more or being more than we have or are this instant.
That's right. All is infinite mind, intelligently functioning right here, right now.
Right.
All.
So you can't, so any sense of lack would be your opinion.
Yep.
Okay.
Your view.
Your view. It may be showing up that way in your life, but it isn't about effort and struggle to try and overcome it. That would just be more from the past than a creation of any sort of new present.
Well, it's an opening, isn't it, to see what abundance really is, rather than thinking that it's got to be money or a job or a relationship or you name it.
Right.
It's not those things at all.
Yeah.
It's who are you being? If you're being consciously aware, then you don't have this little Betty running around trying to fix it all.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and Betty is better cared for.
As a result, yeah. Doing nothing is really doing everything.
Okay. All right. On page 51 of the first edition of CSR, which is Christian Science Re-Explored, Margaret said, with love, unselfed love, or science for vision, we shall see all our desires turn into fulfillment.
Yeah.
So unpack that a little bit.
Well, the God idea, love, or mind, or principle, or truth, or life, all of those things that are synonymous with that for your vision. There isn't any little Betty fussing around.
Right.
And on you go.
Right.
Having an experience of peace and joy and power.
Right. Yeah. Very good. And again, in first edition, page 52, Margaret Laird says, "He who prays with a goal in mind is not being the prayer of unselfed love or understanding." So it's really not about goals or, or having a defined picture in your brain about it's going to be this. You may have a direction, but then you're free with how that shows up. Is that accurate?
Well, petitioning, we've got a lot of this old-fashioned stuff about praying to God for something, as if there were something out there to pray to. And what science teaches is that everything, all of it, is infinite mind, being itself being, regardless of what we call it. So I have this thing called Betty. But Betty is just my point of view on what's present.
Yeah.
So there isn't anyone to petition, to ask for. I can't ask for something that is in the past.
Right.
I can't look at the language and think it will supply me with a wonderful job or a wonderful relationship or a better home.
And it can supply you with all those things.
Yeah, but not looking to the language, it won't.
Right. Okay.
It can, but it won't be satisfying. I can go out and find a way to have lots of money coming in the door, but I'm not going to be satisfied with it. It's going to be a frantic activity. It will pay the rent, but it won't make Betty happy.
Right.
She's determined that she's got to have more of that stuff to stay happy.
Right.
It's that kind
on the never-ending hamster wheel with that kind of thinking.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Now, on page 53 of Christian Science Re-Explored, first edition, she says, "Demonstration in science does not mean bringing to pass what we humanly desire. Demonstration is the understanding that everything that could be humanly desired is coming to view in the language of individual discernment."
Yep. That's a big mouthful. But that's what living science is all about. If I can quiet Betty down long enough, have her just sit still long enough to just acknowledge, just for a moment, just for a snap, if she can just acknowledge for a second that what's actually present is perfect, meeting every need, nothing is upsetting, nothing is out of place, nothing is missing, everything is lovely, perfect, whole, complete, satisfying, fulfilling, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually what's present. Betty's view of that may need a bit tweaking, but that's actually what's going on. Seeing it the way I see it has me realize that there's a lot of baggage I'm carrying around that I could drop now and then and experience a little freedom, a little lightness, a little space. And the things that come up that I call a problem are really that space, that solution, that answer showing up in a way that forces me to see it. I probably wouldn't even take a look unless something were annoying me until I did.
Right.
And then say, oh, well, all right.
Right.
So.
Okay. And then in miscellaneous writings, Mary Baker Eddy said, "Mind spake and form appeared."
Yep. Yep. That's a clear statement. And she's talking about not the human brain business, but universal infinite mind, the God idea. When that speaks, that's what appears.
Right. That's the source of all
Yeah.
that exists or seems to exist.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So all you got to do is get mind to spake.
Yeah, what's really going on all the time is reality emerging, and reality emerging, mind spake, form appears, on we go.
And it's always happening, by the way.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
you
like
notice
it's not
that the
happening. The
language
only
works.
the only reason we have anything at all that we can see in our life and in the language picture is because this is occurring
That's
all the
right.
time.
Exactly right. Yeah, thank you.
But then it's a matter of getting consciously aware and stop playing in the language.
Yep.
Except for that, what there is to do is play in the language. Just don't think it causes anything.
Well,
Isn't that behind the go 100% for whatever it is? Like,
you wanna go 100%.
play full out, play in that language. Just don't think that's causing anything. It's who you're being in relationship to your living.
Yes, and the awareness of that is what allows the freedom to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're aware that none of that stuff makes a difference, hey, you can really let go.
Right.
You can really do it, you know?
Right.
It's I don't know who had these words, but they're not mine. But anyway, they said it's like having an imperishable view of the perishable.
Yeah.
To see the fact that's present, having the language show up.
Well, that would be the same thing. I like that, the imperishable view. It's like saying, I can see health, no matter if health or sickness is what's showing up. I see health.
That's right. And when you think about it, even humanly speaking, if there's a measles going around or a pandemic or anything else, what's the subject? Health.
Yeah.
Chemical health? Yeah, fine, perfect, whole. I don't have to see it as a problem.
Right.
That's up to me.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Okay. And then in miscellaneous writings, Mary Baker Eddy also says, spiritual causation is the one question to be considered. For more than all others, spiritual causation relates to human progress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is one thing going on, and it's the only generative principle we have. It's the only source. There aren't two sources of anything.
Right.
When I'm in the realm of two, I'm wallowing around in language, have no idea what's going on, just wallowing around in my point of view.
Yeah.
As if there weren't a million other points of view all around me.
Yeah.
Nope, it's just the way I see it. That's all. It's the way it is.
Right. So if you can get yourself unattached to whatever you've got going on in your world or not, unattached, no judgment, no opinion, no thought, you can start to let go of the world as you've defined it and have your identity wrapped up in it. And if you can let go of that and get clear about the causative nature of all that exists or seems to exist. And I'm reminded of one of your seminars where you said soap in all directions.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get there, well, then there is no body. There is no stuff. There's no material stuff. There's no judgments. There's no opinions. It's all of it. And now you're in a place of freedom where you can actually create or have energy present to manifest forward whatever that is with no trying to rearrange stuff. Does that make sense?
Yep. And what you're saying too is that you're then free to live yourself as being itself, being whole, perfect, free, joyous,
Right.
satisfied, fulfilled, all of that.
And with that, mind spake, you'll be happy with however that shows up.
Well, that's your being.
It'll be right there in tune with who you're being as that.
It will constitute who you're being.
Right. Yeah.
It isn't like something separate that's in tune with it.
That's right. That's true. I'm sorry. Yeah. So at any rate, that's what we have for today. Any questions or comments, you can put them in the comment box and send them to us if you have any suggestions for subjects. This was a suggested subject that was sent to us by one of y'all. And so we took it up and we put it together for this episode. So if you have anything like that, please feel free to offer that forward. And we are all ears for that. But until next week, we'll be on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, same bat channel, same bat time. And that's all we've got for tonight.